There's Lisa. Are you driving, Lisa?
But I am in the car still.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and start maybe with Suzanne, or would you like to start, Lisa?
I'll just add my welcome to yours, Michelle, and I'm grateful that people are interested in connecting with us and trying to figure out how to open back up safely. And Suzanne has all the good data and information, and I'll chime in a bit. So Suzanne, you can take it away.
And this morning, my name is Michelle Burgess. I'm the president of the Henderson-Vance County Chamber of Commerce, and it's just a pleasure to have all of you on the call. I just want to thank Lisa Harrison and all that they're doing at the health department, the Granville-Vance Health Department during this time. And Suzanne Knott is our health inspector, and she's on. And we also are going to talk with Sherry Jones, who is the director of our Small Business Center. And so we're going to turn it over now to Suzanne.
Good morning. I know it's such an early morning. I appreciate the folks that came in for the meeting. So now we're in phase 2 with opening up our dining area. You probably have seen a lot of the information on the news media about dining areas opening up at 50%. So they have found that with reduced social gathering, that is the best way of stopping or slowing the spread of COVID-19. And so the recommendations that the state has come up with, or the guidance that the state has come up with to reduce exposure, the best way is social distancing, cloth face coverings, cleaning and hygiene in the restaurant, monitoring the symptoms of your employees daily before the start of work, and to the best of your ability, protecting vulnerable populations. So as far as social distancing, they're asking restaurants to open the dining areas at 50% capacity. So most restaurants, they have a fire code number of what the capacity could be in your restaurant. So that number, you reduce it by 50%. So having fewer people in your restaurant dining would be helpful. Spreading tables, a minimum of 6 feet apart. What you want to do is reduce crowding. If you have a way for outdoor seating, I mean, not all restaurants do have outdoor seating, but definitely reduce the capacity inside your restaurant 50% per fire code. Let's see. Encourage pickup and takeout. People still want to do that. What you need to keep in mind is you want to keep the population comfortable. If you can't get everybody in the restaurant, perhaps have a system in place where if there's waiting, have them in the car or outside, and you call them to come in if you can't bring everybody in, because you want to reduce people crowding into your restaurant. Have a plan in place to keep people from crowding in your restaurant. Have signage encouraging people to stay 6 feet apart. You know, you've heard the governor talk about the 3 W's, wear, wait, and wash. So we're encouraging wearing masks. We have found that reduces the chance for coronavirus. I don't know if your restaurants are providing masks for your employees, but we highly recommend that, and to wash that at the end of every shift to make sure that the masks are worn properly and that they're clean. So if you do that, have sanitizer available for your customers. Encourage hand washing as much as possible. Encourage contactless payment as much as you can. I see a lot of my restaurants have apps for ordering, and I've kind of gotten into that where I do my order on my phone and I pay on my phone. I love apps. I know a lot of them are using that, and I think that's a good way to encourage contactless payment. Menus, if you do have a menu, sanitize it after every use. You could. I went somewhere this weekend where they had the scan code where you could take your phone and scan the menu on your phone. I thought that was really cool. That way you didn't even have to deal with the menu, that the menu popped up on your phone. I thought that was really inventive to prevent one extra thing to touch. But if that's something you don't want to do, you could have like a chalkboard with your menu on it, or you could have a disposable menu, paper menu, however you think is the best way to keep that. So you have to remember that your customers, if they feel like you're doing everything possible to keep them safe and keep your place clean and following guidelines, because the general public's very aware of what's going on. And if they go into your place and they see that people are waiting in line and they're crowding and they don't feel that things are being done the way to protect them, they may not tell you, they may not call the health department, but they may not come back. So everything that you can do to keep them comfortable so they will come back. You want customers. And I sent out an email, and I think Michelle did also. Count on Me NC. It's a wonderful online program where you can watch, and it'll kind of give you guidelines on keeping things safe in your restaurant. As a printable certificates that saying that you completed the program, and you can post it up in your restaurant to let your customer know that you've been trained. But I talked about social distancing, talked about face covering, cleaning and hygiene. So you've always done this since the start of opening a restaurant. You've always done the cleaning and hygiene. When you wash your dishes, you wash, rinse, and sanitize. Some of y'all have 3-compartment sinks where you wash, rinse, and sanitize. You already know how to do that. Dishwashers encourage you to make sure that it's wash, rinsing, and sanitizing, that the final thing for sanitizing is doing what it's supposed to do. If it's a low temp machine, make sure every day that that sanitizing step is doing what it needs to do. If it's a high temp machine, so verify that your dishwasher is in fact wash, rinse, and sanitize it. Now we talk about disinfectant. That's a little bit different. That kills a few more bacteria and viruses than sanitizing. Sanitizing is what you do for your food contact surface. Disinfectant is what you would do when you're disinfecting your bathroom. EPA registered disinfectant, use that. Or if you can't find that, you can make your own disinfectant out of bleach. 1/3 cup of bleach to a gallon of water, make it up daily, and you can use that to disinfect contact surface like tables, doorknobs to your door, surfaces in your bathroom. If you're not able to get a commercial EPA registered disinfectant, that's a good backup. In fact, that's what we're doing here in environmental health. In the beginning, when all of this started, it was very difficult to find EPA regulated disinfectants. So we came up with CDC recommended bleach to water ratio to get 1,000 to 1,500 parts per million. 1/3 cup bleach to a gallon of water, and you make it daily. In the Cover Me NC, it talked about before you clean and sanitize, before you clean and disinfect, you want to make sure the surface is not visibly dirty before you spray. So for the disinfectant to work, you don't want a surface to be visibly dirty before you disinfect. I think Donna earlier talked about that you take soapy water and you wash down the surface, and then you disinfect. So that's another method. So we talked about hand sanitizer. If you have buffets or salad bars, I've been talking to a lot of my restaurants, and I'm hearing that they're not doing salad bars or buffets, and that's probably a good thing. Self-service, and try to not do that as much. I mean, if you feel like you have to do that, I would recommend highly having somebody at the buffet to monitor it and not be self-service, have an attendant. But everybody that I have talked to that has that, they're not doing buffets or salad bars. So if anybody has a question about that, I'll talk to you individually. But the folks that I know that have that have decided not to do buffets or salad bars, which I'm very appreciative of that. Let's see, monitoring symptoms. So this has always been in the food code. We've always had it about employee health. You know, if an employee's sick, in the food code, it talks about diarrhea, vomiting, jaundice, fever, any of those illnesses not to work. Well, now with COVID-19, they're asking that you monitor additionally every day, start of every day, every shift, have a means of monitoring your workers. Places I've been going, they even checked my temperature. I visited a place yesterday. They took my temperature, they wrote down my name and my temperature and the time I was there today, which I thought was fabulous thing to do, because it was a record of who was there that day. And I guess if anyone were sick at any time, they would be able to contact me and say, on this day you were here, we want to let you know. So they were documented, and that's a recommendation. And I thought it was great, and I didn't mind a bit that they took my temperature and wrote down that I was there. So I was very impressed with that establishment for doing that. So when you monitor temperatures every day, I don't know if you have the means of getting a thermal thermometer. It might be hard to purchase that. Some people have them on order and they have it come in. So if you don't have that, perhaps in the meantime, before you get a thermal thermometer, you can have your people take their temperatures at home and tell you when they get there. And if they feel any, they don't feel well, any malaise, any aches or pains, even if they don't have a temperature, if they find that they don't feel well, I hope that they would tell you and you would encourage them not to work, because apparently there are some people who can have other symptoms before the fever comes, being, loss of taste, loss of smell, aches and pains before the fever. So if you have, that's another way of monitoring symptoms, and recommended, of course, not required, but it's a good idea to have like a chart and document that, because that's what the place I went to yesterday did, and I thought that was a good idea. And of course, if they have a fever over 100, you send them home. So if they develop symptoms, to let the supervisor know immediately. And monitoring vulnerable populations. So if you have a worker who may be vulnerable, they're older, perhaps find another job where they're not directly dealing with the public. I mean, that's a recommendation, but some of the restaurants and some of the retail people are encouraging older populations at different times. So that might be a cool thing for some restaurants to do. If you cater to an elderly population, maybe, you need at 5, that's something to think about, having different times for different vulnerable populations for dining. Everything that we're telling you is with the hope that if you take these measures and follow this guidance, it will be a way for your customers to feel comfortable to dine in and to come back. And if they see that your employees are wearing face coverings and that they're constantly cleaning tables after customers leave, they will continue to come to your place. And that's what we want. And we want people to feel comfortable to get your restaurant back going. So are there any questions? Hello?
Yes, I had a few questions that had come in to me, and
Okay.
I'm going to try to unmute Lisa, and maybe she can answer some as well. But one of the questions that I had was about one was the temperature. Are any restaurants taking the temperature of their customers, and is that lawful?
I'm not aware of anybody taking temperatures of customers. I don't know if that's lawful or not, honestly. I'm not a lawyer. I think everything that we're putting out there is recommendation. I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that, and I wouldn't recommend that. I would be more apt to worry about your employees, their health and well-being, but that's my opinion.
You talked about grouping, trying to keep groups from forming. You know how social we are here in Henderson and Vance County. So what happens if someone's coming into the restaurant and they stop and talk to someone at another table? Is that up to the restaurant manager to go over and say, we can't have this, or would you sit down? I mean, I don't know the procedure for that, but several people have mentioned that to me. Like, how do you keep groups from forming at a table?
Well, this is recommendations and guidance. I mean, I guess it's on a case-by-case basis. If they're talking briefly and moving on, I don't know if I would create a scene, but that's just me.
Okay.
I've been very fortunate in my going out and about. Most people are trying to stay distant. That's kind of a judgment call. I don't know if I would personally
Okay.
go and create a scene, but that's me.
Can you talk a little bit about bathroom procedures as far as cleanliness? I mean, is there anything special that restaurant owners or managers need to be doing with their restrooms?
So when I looked at the guidance that the state put out, it said as much often to clean it and disinfect it often. So in a lull, in a slow time, that may not that may be every 30 minutes, if they're busy every 30 minutes, but if it's during a lull, but I would certainly check it often. And again, this is all to keep the customers comfortable. They see
Right.
that the bathroom is not clean, they're not going to come back. I mean, that's one of the first things people look at when they go to a restaurant. So I would say check it as often as possible. If you're busy, maybe every 30 minutes.
So just more often than they normally would.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that is the first thing that a lot of customers will complain about if the bathrooms are not clean.
And the other question that I had gotten quite a bit was about, I guess the CDC came out recently that said that surfaces may not hold the germs as long as they originally had thought, like tables or real silver on the tables, flatware. What are you hearing about? Like, is that not as much of an issue as it used to be?
Well, yesterday, in fact, we were talking about it. Percentage-wise, I think the spread of coronavirus statistically has been person to person. I don't remember the numbers. I'm thinking 80%, but it was high. It was high that percentage of the COVID virus spreading person to person. I would certainly not give up keeping surfaces clean.
And we were thinking about
to do that. I would not stop. I would not stop doing that. I think any overabundance of caution is a good thing. So
we were thinking about salt and pepper shakers on the tables, ketchup
I
on the
would not
table.
have anything on the table. I would not have anything when the customer comes. You bring their utensils then. I would not. I would not have anything on the table. Just bring it as a customer
Requested.
request. Now,
Okay,
keep in mind, I was talking about the guidance and the recommendation, the 50% seating capacity, that is by the executive order. So the
right.
recommendations that I was given about everything else, but the 50% seating capacity, that's executive order. So make sure that we're following that phase 2.
Okay, I'm going to bring in Sherry Jones now with our Vance Granville Community College Small Business Center, and let her give us some talk about her classes that she offers, and then I'm going to open it up and people can ask other questions at the end. How does that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you, Michelle. So I'm Sherry Jones, the director of the Small Business Center at Vance Granville Community College. And for those of you who aren't familiar with your small business center, there is a small business center at each of the 58 community colleges within the state. And we're funded through the North Carolina legislature. And our services are provided to the constituents of our counties free of charge. So what we do is offer one-on-one counseling with business owners or potential business owners to talk with them about what it may take to start a business, how to set up an LLC, a variety of topics, anything that may impact opening a business. But we also work with existing businesses to do things to help them sustain themselves, sustain jobs, or grow. And as a part of that, we do offer classes just to help, information and knowledge is a tool that we use all the time. We don't necessarily think of it that way, but we do provide services. So obviously we've been very busy during this time with the COVID-19 pandemic, trying to get information out, not only about how to continue doing business, how to think creatively about rerouting the way you do business or what you do during this time when you could not be open. And so now we're shifting gears a little bit, as Suzanne just touched on, with things to do as we do go back into our stores, our restaurants, and those kinds of things. So there are a lot of aspects that we have to look at. And one of those, we've got some classes scheduled in June around the taxes and the impact that this virus has had and may have on your ability to pay taxes and those kinds of things, even though the deadlines were extended. So we've got some classes that will discuss, things you can do and things you need to be aware of and to look for as far as getting your taxes and all that taken care of. In addition, we are starting next week a series of classes around reopening your business. It's called Reopening Your Business, and it starts June 4th. Some of those classes will look at understanding the different phases, phase 1, 2, and 3 of reopening. So our instructor will touch on the executive orders and, what's involved in each of those phases. The other classes will touch on liability and how to be as diligent as you can to relieve yourself from liability as we do go back into our businesses. And I agree with Suzanne. I'll piggyback on some of the things she says. One of the biggest issues that are going to face businesses right now is consumer confidence. They have to feel comfortable, because they're not going to say, I don't feel comfortable in your business. They're just not going to come back in. And each of us as individuals should be able to identify with that to some degree, because, we've been quarantined just like everybody else. And you've been serving takeout and things like that. So just be aware that it is very important how they perceive what you're doing just as much as what you're doing. So anything you can do, gloves, masks, I think will build consumer confidence. It's not required of you at this point, I don't believe. I think Suzanne said it's recommendations, but I think they're very good recommendations, because the more comfortable a customer is, the more apt they are to come back to your establishment. Some of these classes will also look at social media practices as you reopen. How do you get the word out? And communication is going to be key. not only with your customers, but with your employees. You know, they have to be retrained. They have to be re-educated on what they're facing as well. So, and that's going to be up to you as their employer to work with them and to inform them to the best of your ability. Because again, information is a tool that they need to be able to do their jobs properly going forward. The class that I was mentioning, the series, will also look at CDC health and safety guidelines. These instructors are very knowledgeable and they've done research, and they will present stuff to you that you may not want to go in there and read the whole document. They've done that. They'll break it down for you. So these will be very beneficial to you as business owners, I think, going forward. And so there are several more within that series, but another series that will start the second week in June is directed mainly at restaurants and food industry folks. So, but again, it's not going to be the Suzanne and the health department end of things. It's going to be more the business end of things, how to communicate, the best ways to get that communication out to the public and to your employees, how to deal with difficult people in your restaurant, because we've already seen in the news, there have been some issues when people were asked to, when they entered a store, to put on a face mask. You know, you've got to know how to deal with those situations before they arise. So I think that's going to become even more important as we open up further. Pivoting your operations to keep up with the demand. So, you know, adjusting your dining rooms to the 50% capacity, you know, what that may look like, and other ways you can sustain your business through that kind of cut in what you're doing. Hopefully your takeout will offset the inability to run your dining rooms at full capacity. But they're just things that you need to consider that you may not have thought about, and these series will address those issues. These classes will be loaded as of this afternoon, the first series, and then the one that's focused on mainly restaurants and food industries will go up probably by the end of the week. And the way you can access our classes is if you go to the Vance Granville Community College website, click on class schedules, and then you'll see Small Business Center listed there, and just click on that. And it'll take you to our page where all of our classes are listed, and where you can also register for one-on-one counseling if you were to need that. In addition, I'd like to mention too, we have a career services board at Vance Granville. It's for our students, but it's also available to you if you want to register. You would go in as an alumni and register there, and you can access the jobs board. There are jobs listed there. So if you go to the Vance Granville website and click on business and community, then you will see career services, and you'd go there. That is also available to you as an employer. So if you need employees, you can go there and register your company and then list your jobs that you have available. So that we have culinary students who may be looking for jobs. So if you have needs of cooks, of servers, and that kind of thing, you can go there and post all of your jobs so that students, alumni, in the community can see those and reach out to you that way. So I think that's about all I had at the moment, Michelle. If any of you need to contact me, I'm obviously working remotely right now. They're encouraging us to continue to do that. But my email is jones@vgcc.edu if you were to need to contact me.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. That was great information. And those classes, I mean, people need to take advantage of those, because that is just like, you know, getting a college education right here for free. And you can just do it, you know, go ahead and set it up and do it in the comfort of your home, so, or your business office. So that was great. I hope all of you will check those out. One of the things that I wanted to follow up on, Sherry, with you was when Suzanne mentioned about the app, like having the scan code on the door of the restaurant. I feel like a lot of people may not know how to get that app or how to, you know, go about moving into that form of social media and technology. Does the college have any type of program or a class that would just talk about how to do an app or how to get that for a business?
Yeah, we have not actually covered that, but what I try to do is listen to what you and what the community at large and my clients say they want. So if I hear that there's a need for something, then I go looking for an instructor and we do it. But as far as the QR code, you can get a QR code for free for anything that you need. And the QR code app is free, and most people put that on their phones. They've kind of lost a little popularity, but I agree in hearing Suzanne talk, that should come back. That should be something that we utilize, especially during this time, to look at publicity. You don't want to be touching a flyer or anything either. So you can put QR code for any kind of advertising in a newspaper ad for your restaurant. You can include a QR code. People could do it from the newspaper or whatever medium they're using. Scan it with their phone and see your food for takeout purposes or whatever. So, so yes, you as a business can request a QR code that you could utilize for your menu like that, and it doesn't cost anything.
Does anybody have a question that they would like to ask either Suzanne or Lisa or Sherry?
Several questions I had, you've already answered.
Thanks, Dinah. Chris, what about you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I don't really have any questions. Thank you, Suzanne, Michelle, Sherry, for everything. I just want to put out there, there's a company, Carolina Copac, in Henderson that makes hand sanitizer. Has as much available as you need. So if anybody needs any or wants it for their customers or whatever, if you can't get in touch with them, reach out to me. I'll get in touch with them. We'll get you whatever you need.
And what's their
What's the
name?
name of that again, Chris?
Carolina Copac.
Okay.
It's a bottling plant. They had bottled barbecue sauces, ketchups, all kinds of stuff. They started a night shift making hand sanitizer. It's 80% alcohol. So,
All right.
if you can't get them, reach out to me at Ruby Tuesday here at the restaurant, and we'll get you in touch with them or get you whatever you need.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. And I just wanted to say to our restaurant people on here that I've been so impressed with everything you're doing. You mean, you really had to pivot your whole business plan, and who knew that it could work as well as it did? But that was very stressful, and I know that took just a lot more gumption than you thought you were going to need in the months of February, March, and April and May. So kudos to you guys. I really appreciate that. And also to our health department folks who have gone really over and beyond their call of duty. And those classes from Vance Granville have been wonderful. And the Small Business Center has kept us all informed. So I like that we're a team here in Vance County, and I hope we can continue our relationship.
I would like to ask the business owners a question if I could. So I've been real involved with the local community businesses with SBA loans and PPP loans and those kinds of things. Have you guys been successful, or have you applied for any of those funds?
Yeah. Yes, we have applied for them.
Have you heard back from any of them, Donna?
Now, I know our restaurant in Roanoke Rapids has, but we have not yet. The one in here in Henderson, I haven't heard back yet.
Right. And Chris, you're with Ruby Tuesday, you said?
Yeah, Ruby Tuesday did get a PPE loan.
Good.
And I guess your corporate office is who kind of handles those things.
Right.
And Kelsey, I'm not familiar with you. What organization are you with?
I work for the health department as well.
Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, those loans, it's been a learn as you go process, even for those doing the lending and things. So it's been a changing everyday kind of situation. So I'm glad you guys at least tried to take advantage, and hopefully you'll hear something soon. And if we can be of assistance, if you have questions about those, we have connections with the SBA. Please reach out to me, and I probably won't have the answer, but I can definitely go up the chain a bit and try to get the answers you need. We're here for you. We're your small business center.
If there's no more questions, would Lisa or Suzanne like to offer any closing remarks?
Thank you so much for having us. We definitely are in this together and appreciate your partnership at the Chamber and the community college and with small businesses. I do think that it's important to make sure that we're trying to support each other during this pandemic response. And we really appreciate all the efforts and all the great communication. So definitely lean on us if you need us some more. Like Sherry said, we want to be here for you and we want to support you.
Thank you. We will do the, go ahead, Suzanne.
And I would also like to remind people to go to Count on Me NC. If you haven't watched that training, it's free. I think it's very informative, and it may give you some ideas on keeping things safe. So I think it's a wonderful course.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Michelle.
it. Okay. Bye-bye.